Sup nerds, I'm Tom.
I'm Wes.
And I'm Aaron.
Today we're playing Gamers Bingo.
So I can kind of see how this is compared to Bingo. You know, we are all placing the same number or color. It's all the same thing on all of our boards at the
And
same
that
time.
thing gets called out just the way that Bingo does.
Yeah, but it's not Bingo. So if you are the first player or the master builder, because Legos master builder, I think that's what they called it.
Oh.
Anyways, if you're the master builder, you choose what resource type we're going to be building with this round. You say, okay, we're building with the red one, and then everybody gets a red one and gets to place it on their board simultaneously. So kind of similar to the game where you're trying to get your guys across to collect the... Oh my goodness.
Take your time, man. This is gold right now.
There's the temples, and you get the explorers, and you're building the
Karuba?
So similar to that, where you're like, you could all do the exact same thing, but everybody's gonna completely vary, like within like a round or two. Like it's never gonna, somebody else is like,
you could hypothetically have almost identical boards at the end of the game,
but it's not gonna happen that way because of humans. It's just the way it is.
But also your
special
your tower thing.
Yeah, will kind of guide you maybe a different way. But essentially, you're trying to get the different resources in the pattern of the buildings that are dealt out at the beginning of the game. And once you complete, like I get the red, the blue, and the yellow in this order, I can now build a cottage. So I take those off, and I put a cottage in one of the spaces that those resources were in. And then I can start working on, putting stuff in my other fields and build new places.
Actually, and it's important to note that the cottage is in every single game. There's different types. So if you see here, there's different decks. There's 4 copies of each type of building, but the cottage is only just that one. But the cottage actually always works off of the farms, I think, because cottages only gets points if they're fed. And then you look at the farms, and it'll tell you how the cottages get fed. So there is a decent amount of variety, but the fact that, we have to take from one of each type of building, at least then you know that you're never going to have like combinations that don't work or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. And that does add to a lot of the variability in this game because you have all the different building types, you have all the different special buildings that people are trying to build. Because everyone's choosing what cubes to get, there's going to, depending on what group you're going to be, there's going to be people that are just going to go for different strategies or gravitate towards different things or try to build their building that doesn't help you. So there's definitely a lot of replayability with this game, I think, just because of what can change. And also, you're going to take a few plays to really grasp what you're supposed to do here. It's definitely going to take you a few plays to really get the hang of this game because you can really build yourself into a corner here. If you leave, a gap open, let's say I built, this here and this here, I'm almost never going to get a building there because you have to build a pattern and put it in one of those spaces. So one cube here is never going to do anything. In addition to that, because the rest of the table, we're all drawing the same cube, and so when it's not my turn, everyone else is controlling what cubes I'm building. If they see that I made a mistake, and he only has that area left and that combination of cubes, as long as we don't say brown, he's going to get booted out of the game. And that can happen in this game. That's probably one of my big negatives for this, is if that happens, hypothetically, you can just, I'm done. Because I made a mistake and now I can't build anything, and so
you get 2 mulligans kind of where you can just set the
that is actually that is an alternate rule. You don't always that's not specifically a rule
to make it
that's
easier.
That's a rule that's in the rule that says you can play with it, but if you want to play hardcore mode, no mulligans.
Yeah.
And you can't go back and say, I shouldn't have placed that here, I'm going to get rid of that one. It's when the cube is called, you can not place it on your board. So you could have already used those, or they could just be enough players at the table that you can't help it.
There's also an alternate variant where you draw cards, so it's only every other turn or something. It's every other time you're a master builder, you will draw a card, and then you'll say one, and then you'll draw a card. I will say this. I really enjoyed the game. I thought it was really fun. It's very quick, very light. It's very mean, and you do need you do need a couple of games because you can really screw yourself over, and that does not feel good when you're I'm going to do nothing every turn. Do nothing, do nothing, do nothing, and you're just watching everybody else have a better game than you ever had. But But outside of that, I feel like when you play with a group, because it's so light, you can play it multiple times in a row. Let's go again. Let's go again. And by your second or third time, they'll definitely get it. But I don't love it. It's enjoyable. I will definitely sit down and play it again. And maybe it's again just because we are on the board game social media so often. But I've been seeing so much hype for this game. People being like, "Yeah, it's so much fun. It's great. Game of the year. I love it. It's excellent." I'm like, okay.
It's kind of like a Sudoku-esque, like, okay, if I put this one here, there's a couple things I can build from it, but only if the next couple, moves that I make actually still line up with that. Once I put something else there, now I'm like, okay, well, now I can't build this building. I'm kind of locked into, I need to get these other two here so I can build that building. And I'm going to try and work on a different building over here if you guys call anything but those colors I need. So, like, if you're into those puzzles and taking risks, like, you're really going to enjoy, like, how you have to think out your turns in this game.
I definitely see why people love this game. Absolutely. If you're like, no, this game is amazing, I wouldn't be like, wow, you haven't played many games, have you? Like, I think that a lot of people are going to love this game. I think it's a solid, like, B+ for us.
Sure. I mean,
if we gave grades to games, like, I definitely enjoy it. I'll definitely play it with you. I don't see, like, us playing this game a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good intro game, right? I could play it with my mom. It passes the Tom's mom test.
I would almost say it maybe one step above intro just because of how you have to plan things out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Plan ahead.
Sure, but, like, it's for newer gamers. It's definitely good. But, like, and I struggle with this because there are so many games that are like this, that are at this level. It's a pretty good intro game. It's good for newer players. It's simple. It's quick. And I know a lot of people say that a game should be able to stand on its own merit, and sometimes I agree with that. But these things don't exist in a vacuum, and I just think that when it comes to teaching a game to new players, or playing a game for 30 minutes and stuff, I'm not 100% certain this is going to be what I pick every time. Now, granted, again, I don't want to undersell it too, because again, I do enjoy it. I will play it again. But I'm not like, my mind's not melting.
There's no drafting in it.
There's no drafting or deck building or worker placement.
Or dice rolling.
If we had a
There's no
variant where we
dragons.
could draft out these cube cards or something.
Ooh.
Yeah, then maybe.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely not my cup of tea, but I enjoyed the puzzliness of it.
Yeah.
Like, it's different. It's unique. Like, I kind of, like, it's similar to other town builders, like, it's a drafting one from Stonemaier.
Between Two Cities.
Between Two Cities, you're building your cities, and, like, you're trying to get them lined up in certain ways to score points for having them next to certain buildings.
Right.
But this one's like, there's all the construction in it. You have to, like, okay, slowly get the materials there. So, like,
But question, if you have 3 or 4 people, would you rather play this or Between Two Cities?
with 3 people,
Okay.
probably this. With
Right,
7
okay,
people,
okay.
Between Two Cities.
Right. Okay. 4 people. 4 people.
Probably Between Two Cities.
Okay.
just
4
'cause the
people.
drafting.
4 people. Karuba. This or Karuba.
Ooh. I don't know. Karuba probably. It's a little more tried and true.
Yeah. Like,
but
again,
this is,
I'm not
unique.
I'm not saying that it's bad, but this versus some other stuff, because it just can't exist in a vacuum. You know what I'm saying?
I think the saving grace for this, though, is the variety in the different buildings you're making. You're not always going to be trying to, like, get, the orange buildings next to the green buildings. Like, every game you're going to have to make it, the layout of your little town has to be different because the cards are telling you so. Like, you can't, have a single strategy. Like, the one time we played, you wanted all the orange buildings in the corner, and then you multiplied them. You got all 4, that's 16 points. But, like, you play a different game, and now it doesn't want to be adjacent to certain buildings. If it's not, then you get the points. So, like, there's a lot of strategy, and, like, you just because you can build the building doesn't even mean it's worth anything for you. So I definitely enjoyed it, though. I would play it again.
I definitely thought it was a good time. I would definitely play this game again. Would I, like, go out and buy it myself? Maybe not. Do I think it's worth having access to? Yeah, I think it's a fun game. I like the bingo-y aspect. I don't see it quite like that. Like, there's a lot where it's like, hey, everybody, we're doing this round. But I think they portrayed it in a way that was, like, just different enough that, like, I do think this game it's unique enough to say like, well, I'm not going to go out and buy another deck builder. Like, yeah, buy this one instead.
The component quality is really great, though. All these differently shaped and different colored building meeples, and I do kind of wish the cubes weren't cubes. But other than that, the cards are, they're good quality. The art is really good. I think the production quality is good.
If you're looking to pick a copy of this game up, we will have a link in the description box down below where you can get yourself a copy.
And hey, while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you will never be bored. So the reason why I said that, when I call it Gamers Bingo, is because you get little markers and numbers, and you call it out. There's a big wheel thing that goes with all these numbers in it and stuff. It's only played by old people.
Almost.
That's a dumb joke. All right, Aaron, why don't you start?